The question of the day is, what are some Bible reading tips?
This is a great question. Let's
Right
turn
up
to
your alley,
it is
isn't it?
right up my alley. Let's turn to 2 Timothy 2 and look in
Okay.
verse 15. Bible reading tips. The first tip is make sure you do it. That's the first tip. That's like prayer tips. The biggest hindrance to prayer is not praying. It sounds.
It's true.
Yeah, I know. The same thing for reading the Bible. The first tip is make sure you do it. That's the first tip. 2 Timothy 2:15. Would you read that for us, please?
Study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth.
So right in that verse, you get the sense that you're going to have to put some work in on it because it talks about a workman, and a workman is somebody that works, very definitely, and study takes time. So the first tip I have for Bible reading is make sure you do it. A second tip I have for you, I recommend that you read out loud. You'll get a lot more out of it. If you read aloud, you can hear it, you're speaking it, and you see it. So you just get more out of it when you read it out loud, and that's a very good thing. What's a tip that you might recommend to them?
I would say pick a certain time of the day for reading. So whether that's first thing in the morning or at night, whatever's best for you. Definitely in the morning, like if you're going to exercise too. Like it's better to do it first thing in the morning. Same with Bible reading. That way you make sure you're fitting it in.
That is a great tip. That way, no matter how busy your day gets, if you did your reading in the morning, or you at least did some of it in the morning, you got something in there.
And it sets you up for the day too, because if you go to work and things are stressful, it's better to have that time with God in the morning before the rest of the day gets to you. And it helps you be more balanced.
That is a great point. One thing that might be helpful is to keep a journal. Someone said that the difference between Bible reading and Bible study is that when you're doing Bible study, you have a paper and a pencil next to you. And what I mean to tell you is to write down the questions that you have and take them to someone that's been saved a little longer than you, or someone that knows a little more about the Bible or spiritual things. You're reading through the Bible, you got questions, write them down. Take them to somebody, take them to your pastor, take them to your minister. Take them to us.
Right.
Put them down in the comments below. We'll get you an answer to it.
Absolutely.
And that's a wonderful thing to do. How helpful is it to get a partner in Bible reading?
It's very helpful. We like to read the Bible together.
Yes, we do.
Which is wonderful, and we do it every day and make time for it. And we have a certain time of day that we do that, and it's nice.
Yeah, so read aloud. Make sure you read. Expect to work, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed.
Right.
Consider getting a partner, reading aloud. What are some other Bible tips, Bible reading tips that you might have?
Some people find it helpful to get one of those Through the Bible in a Year Bible. So they have like a breakdown. So you'll do like a little bit in the Old Testament, a little bit in the New Testament, and maybe something kind of in between. And it gives you that balance. And then it's very structured. So if you're someone that needs structure, that could really help you. And it does get you through, and in 1 year as well. And if that's a goal for you, I would recommend getting one of those.
That makes sense. To have a plan, in other words. There are many, many different Bible reading plans, and most of them are free. Many online resources have Bible reading plans, and there are many different schemes of how many chapters to read here and there and when, For example, Proverbs has 31 chapters in it. There are 31 days in a typical month. What a lot of people do, in addition to whatever other reading that they do, they'll read the number of Proverbs for that day. So if today is the 14th, you read the 14th chapter in the book of Proverbs along with whatever else you do. One other thing that you can do is you can have somebody read the Bible to you. Alexander Scorby is probably, what do they call him, the voice of the Bible,
Right.
but you can also find James Earl Jones reading the Bible and other people reading the Bible, and you can put it on your MP3 player or on your phone, and you can just follow along as they read to you, and that can be helpful.
And if you're very, very busy and you're having, struggling getting your time in, if you have any kind of commute to work in the morning, you could use that. You could listen to the Bible on your way to work in the morning. Just try not to get in an accident
No.
while you do that. But that could be a great resource too if you have any kind of commute for work. And
Yeah.
think about it too. If you have an hour, you can get an hour of Bible on the way to work, an hour on the way back.
Yeah, if you're reading an hour or two of the Bible every day, or having it read to you 1 or 2 hours, you should make it through in a year. I don't think there'd be any problem with that at all. Another Bible reading tip that I do have is make sure you read the Old Testament also. You don't want to skip the Old Testament. A lot of people do that. When you look at a Bible and you say, well, if you were to look at it and I was to find which portion is New Testament, which portion is Old Testament, you say, well, about this much here is New Testament, so it's much smaller, and then the Old Testament is much, much bigger, and it's got all those long names that people have problems with and things like that. A lot of people neglect the Old Testament, and you don't want to do that. The Old Testament is very, very important, and a lot of things in the Old Testament are prophetic and haven't happened yet. And so they're going to happen. So when people go to study prophecy, sometimes they go straight to the book of Revelation. But a lot of the old
Daniel.
Daniel gets in the mix sometimes too. But there's so much prophecy. For example, in the book of Psalms, the book of Psalms is loaded with prophecy. Book of Job, loaded with prophecy. And most people just slide right over them, don't even consider them. So you don't want to forget that Old Testament. So in conclusion, we talked about getting a partner, reading aloud,
Right.
considering a Bible reading plan, not ignoring the Old Testament, knowing that
Listening to the Bible.
listening to the Bible, have somebody read it to you. All these things can be helpful. And Bible reading is one of the two most important things in the Christian life, because along with prayer, because Bible reading and prayer is how you're going to build your personal relationship with Jesus Christ. That's how you're going to get to know Him better and know Him more completely. So much so that one old divine said that ignorance of the Bible is ignorance of Christ.
Wow.
Ignorance of the Bible is ignorance of Christ. And to that I say amen.
Amen.
Yeah, amen. So that's the answer to the question for today. If you have a question, please make sure you put it in the comments below. We'd be happy to answer it. And until then, the Lord bless you.